Welcome back, everybody. Today we wanted to continue our last video. We're going to get through hopefully rounds 4 through 6. We haven't decided whether or not we're going to clip them all into one video or not. If not, you'll definitely see another video with the latter rounds after this. But we suspect 4 and 6 to go a little bit quicker than rounds 1, 2, and 3, which we think require the most detail when it comes down to it. With that said, I'm going to kick it over to Sam because it's his pick for the 12th team and their first pick in the fourth round.
Yeah, so to kick off the fourth round here, we kind of let Laporta slip a little late, and we talked about it at the end of our last video, but I'm going to go ahead and take him here at the 4-1. I'm not really upset. If you want to take Laporta anywhere in the last five picks that we made, I think there's a good argument there. He's the best tight end in Dynasty, in my opinion, on the board. I think he has a good chance of finishing tight end one this year, too. You might have a guy like Kelsey or Andrews if they stay healthy the full year who could kind of keep up. But he's young. He was a stud as a tight end his first year, and I think he'll kind of be that tight end one for the next few years here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think sitting there, he's a good pick. I don't think you can go wrong taking Laporta. I do think he's going to regress from what you saw last year. It was a crazy first year for a tight end, let alone a rookie, when it comes down to it. But he's going to be a good player no matter what you do. For Team 11, at this scenario, they'd be foolish not to take their next QB. So we're going to take Brock Purdy off the board here. Brock Purdy's going to be a nice grab in the fourth round. He's got pretty good upside from the offensive side of things. And I think he's going to have a good season. Obviously, the only concern right now is whether or not Ayuk will be there. If he loses Ayuk, I don't know if I'd be taking Brock Purdy here at this stage. So just keep that in mind whenever you're watching this video. If Ayuk is gone, his value shifts tremendously. Because whoever they bring in there is going to be a drop from Ayuk, no matter how you spin it.
Yeah, no, that's my biggest concern for Purdy. Kind of similar for Team 10 here for the next pick. I think I'm going to go with Tua. Just looking at the team, their only QB is Justin Herbert, and we already kind of mentioned that Herbert's probably not in for the biggest year of his career coming up. So Tua, he has Tyreek, he has Waddle. He's going to put up points as long as he's healthy, just because of the other people on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're Team 10, you need a second QB here, so I'm pretty happy with that pick.
Yeah, Tua's at this stage, I think he's going to be a good grab no matter what. It's your team next, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, so for this, I'd be a little bit torn here if I'm looking at Goff or if I'm looking at kind of Waddle here would be the two people I'm probably between. I think that Goff is a little too good to pass up on at this point, though. I expect Goff to be a top 10 QB this season. And if you're looking at the betting odds, right now in some of these sports books, the Lions are projected to be a top five offense. And Goff is a QB at the helm. He has Amon-Ra, he has Laporta. Jameson Williams might step up this year. Again, one of those guys where he could put up points for you in a Superflex format pretty consistently.
All right, and I think we got me next, right?
Yep,
My
and
turn
I
here?
can scroll down if you want to.
So for me, in this situation, I'm going to be looking for whatever value I can get. I know some of you might think I should be looking for my second quarterback. I'm actually not going to be. I'm going to be waiting, hoping I can land the QB that I have my eyes on later in the draft. And I definitely want to go more for value at this point. So what I would be looking at is, can you actually scroll down just a little bit and keep going and give me my boy Nico Collins. Nico Collins was an absolute monster last year. Him and CJ Stroud just had a really, really solid connection. I don't see that changing. You can argue with me that Stephon Diggs is there now. I don't care. I see his volume falling off. He's getting older. He's going to be wide receiver too. Yes, they have Tank Dell. Tank Dell last year had a really nice run, but he was very TD dependent. Nico Collins was the wide receiver in Houston, and I suspect that he will do it again this year. So, yeah, that's my pick there.
Yeah, no, I like Collins here. I still think he's the wide receiver one on Houston. I don't think we're going to see Diggs come in and eat up too many of Collins' like target share there. I think he and Dell might compete more against each other.
Yep.
At this point, though, just to quickly pull up the QBs, I think there's a pretty big teardrop after Goff, Tua, and Purdy go. They might go end of third, they might go early fourth here. But at this stage in the draft, again, I'm mostly looking at RBs, tight ends, and wide receivers at this point. Um, I'm probably between like Jalen Waddle. I'd probably go Jalen Waddle before I go tight end here. So if I'm team seven, I'll take Waddle here. He obviously had some injuries last year. He's the clear number two behind Tyreek, but he's just such an explosive player that he can put up those, 20, 30, 35 point games here and there throughout the season.
Hmm.
Um, I just think he's got great upside. I don't know how much longer Tyreek has left in the league. So he could be a wide receiver one the next, 1, 2 years here as well.
Okay, yeah, I can't argue with that take. I like Waddle. I don't know if I like him more than Devontae Smith as a number two. At least history so far, Smith has the edge to me, but Waddle has good upside, and I suspect he'll rebound from what he did last year, hands down. Sorry of a fly flying around me here. For Team Six, switch it to running back. They'd be a fool not to take an RB at this stage as one of the few teams not having a running back that is top flight right now. So looking at this list right here, initially people will be like, oh, well, you got to take Achan here because Achan just has that value when it comes down to it. But in round 4, I actually agree. So we're going to take Achan. I don't like him in the first round. I don't like him in the second round. I don't like him in the third round in Superflex. But in fourth round, he is a good value grab at this stage. And it gives you a strong young running back that can hopefully help carry you going into the future. Obviously, you just got to hope he stays healthy because he's not a big dude.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, HN, obviously super explosive. The whole Dolphins offense is. Any of those guys could put up 40 points in any given week, it seems like. Um, but now, if I'm looking at Team 5, we have Stroud, McCaffrey, Olave here. Again, I know that I picked Olave for Team 5 previously, but I do have some hesitation over how good he'll be this year just due to the situation again. So I think I want to go my wide receiver 2 at this spot. And at this point, I'm pretty happy to take Devonta Smith.
Hmm.
You could go DJ Moore, but I'm just not sure how that target kind of landscape looks in Chicago right now. But we do know Smith is the clear-cut number 2 in Philadelphia, but it's more of like a 1A, 1B situation there, where he does get a lot of volume. He does put up touchdowns and red zone production. Um, word out of camp is that it's being leaned on a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of Smith this year.
Yeah, he's a handcuffed AJ Brown too. If AJ Brown's not there, he's going to be ballistic on the field. But still, he's given 1,000 yards each of his first 2 seasons. He's been an absolute stud. I don't see that changing this year. I think he's a good fallback for Hurts too. He's going to be good no matter where you take him. I think getting him in the 4th round is actually pretty much a steal at this point. For the next team here, he's already set in wide receiver. He's got a top flight running back, so he's going to be looking at running back here too. And by running back, I meant he's got a top flight quarterback. And looking at this list of 4, at this stage, you have a decision to make because there's a handful of running backs here that I think are rated higher than they should be. I think Josh Jacobs is rated higher than he should be. 2 years ago, he was an absolute stud. Last year, he was atrocious. But I also just don't like running backs generally when they're switching teams, except for Saquon because I think he's just going into a better situation. Most scenarios, a running back switching teams doesn't pan out very well historically. So for me, I'd be looking at Pacheco and Kenneth Walker. Those are the 2 I'd be tossing up in my mind right now. And I'd be going with the young gun there, Kenneth Walker. He's younger. He's got more longevity left in him, and he's in a team that relies on him pretty heavily. So Kenneth Walker is going to be the grab there to start building the running back core, sitting on Team 4. And then obviously as Team 4, I'd be looking probably a quarterback in the next round, depending what's around.
Yeah, no, and Walker, we actually included him in one of our, busts or kind of avoid at ADP video.
Hmm.
But that was when we were talking about him not getting enough receiving work and worried that Charbonnet would kind of eat into that role. But
Hmm.
word out of camp about 2 days after we posted that is that he is getting a ton of receiving work. They're building a lot of the offense kind of around him. So I think Kenneth Walker could be one of those guys where he really outperforms ADP compared to some of these other guys who I think are pretty in line with where they're going.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at team three now, the only team without a wide receiver, so they're
You got the
probably
best
going
running back
to
core though.
does have a good running back core, but he probably needs to take a wide receiver and take two coming up. Uh, I think the best available at this stage is DJ Moore.
Yep.
Again, I picked Smith over him just because I'm not sure how Keenan Allen and Odunze both figure into
The
kind of
fact
the
that
setup
Odunze's
here.
ADP is higher than him blows my mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's wrong. I think DJ Moore is the guy to own in the Chicago wide receiving room. It's just there's going to be more target competition now, but I think Fields is an upgrade at QB. I still think he probably is that number one guy there, and he's not a bad wide receiver one to have on your team.
Yeah, Odunze is going to be the three. There's no doubt about it. DJ Moore was a stud last year. Keenan Allen in there coming in there is definitely going to eat some of his shares. Keenan Allen was a stud last year too, so I suspect that tandem is going to be really strong. And it's really going to give Odunze a chance to adapt into the league. Okay, so looking at Team Two, they're set from the quarterback perspective. They have a wide receiver on number one. We're going to be looking at running back because it's going to start to fall off if I'm them. So looking at the three next running backs, I'm going to be taking Pacheco. Now, I like Pacheco here. I think he's a pretty good value grab. You might see that he's a little bit higher than his standard ADP. You got to remember this is Superflex. You're looking for someone who's going to perform for you for a couple years, and you're looking for a strong running back that can do that. Pacheco is younger. I'm not going to say he's the youngest because he's been in the league a few years at this point, but he's going to give you good value, and he's on the Chiefs. So you know he's going to perform.
Yeah, no, I think he's in for a huge work. Oh my God, work horse season. That is much harder to say than
Yeah.
I was anticipating there.
Especially on
Uh,
video, apparently.
yeah, so I don't know why my brain just malfunctioned there, but anyway, I'm going to avoid that word moving forward. Uh, but if I'm T1, we got the two picks on the turn here. I'm thinking, RB and maybe tight end at this point. Um, I think probably best available at this point in the draft would be Dalton Kincaid. Again, we have Josh Allen, so I don't think the stack here is bad. I think that's a pretty good stack to have. And I think Kincaid might be that number one receiving option for Allen and the Bills this year, so I'm happy to take him here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Being able to have the swing around here, I'd be looking at a running back because he's in desperate need of an RB, and knowing he doesn't have another pick for 23 picks, or is it 20? Yeah, 23. He's got the 24 pick from now. The running back is going to be an absolute atrocious position when it gets back to him. So if I'm looking at it here, I'm sitting and looking at this list. Josh Jacobs could be a good grab. Rashad White could be a good grab. Rashad White's like we had the bus video earlier. If you look back on it, he was on there. He has not been in a situation where his offensive line has really been good at all. It's been absolutely awful, actually. He hasn't had a starting center stay a full season in his first 2 years in the league. So there is definitely some concern by drafting him, which may err you on the side of Josh Jacobs. But like I said, I don't like running backs when they're switching teams. But I'm going to take Rashad White. He's the best upside here. He's still going to get a lot of receiving work. I know people are like, but Bucky Irving. No, Bucky Irving's not going to come in and take things from White out of the gate. He was too good receiving the ball. So I don't foresee that changing. I think he will get more groundwork as well as offensive line is hopefully healthy and in a better situation than it was last year.
Yeah, no, obviously receiving upside is huge there. It's just, will he see any regression in terms of production? Will he have Bucky Irving eat into those kind of receptions? But I guess we'll see. I don't think he's bad value there. And if I'm looking at team two, we have two QBs, so we're set there. You could make the argument for a tight end and Trey McBride here, but I think I'd rather go Zay Flowers, who's really the last wide receiver one on the board here. There's DK Metcalf, but there are some things there that don't excite me a lot. So I'm going to go Zay Flowers. He's tied to Lamar Jackson. He's still the number one wide receiver in that offense. will be behind Andrews again in terms of targets, but I think he might close that gap a little bit in his sophomore season. So I'm willing to take the bet that he continues to progress as a wide receiver here, and I think he could be good value.
For team 3, we're sitting here. We got a solid running back core. We got a solid WR1. What we're going to do here is we're going to look to stack a little bit and take Kelsey with Mr. Mahomes. And the goal here is that you're going to get 2 solid years out of Kelsey alongside Mahomes, at least. We know he just signed a 3-year extension. So he's expecting to play this year, next year, the year after, barring retirement, because he's getting older, obviously. But you'll at least have this year, and I believe you'll at least have next year. And having that stack with him and Mahomes is just a connection that's been a monster for 5+ years at this point, and I don't see it slowing down.
Yeah, no, I get this stack logic. I think in terms of how I'd rank tight ends overall, my next pick here would actually be Trey McBride.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little tempted by Bowers or Andrews as well. This guy has Lamar, so you could say, Mark Andrews here. But I just think in terms of age and upside and what we saw to McBride last year, I think he has potential to really kind of be in that like Laporta and Kincaid class in terms of who is like the next group of like stud tight ends. He already has the production. We've seen him do it. Marvin Harrison Jr. might eat into that target share a bit, but I think he's probably a better number 2 option than Michael Wilson or say Jones. So I don't think he's going to see a huge dip in production or volume there.
No, he's definitely the number 2 option on that team. Like there's no doubt about it. For me, on the next team, team 5, you got two wide receivers already set. You got Christian McCaffrey, absolute stud. For me in this situation, I'm going to look for the best value I can find. So, looking at tight ends, I still think they're rated super high compared to what their ADP are, but I'm going to be taking Brock Bowers. I don't think people realize how good this guy is. And he's kind of being undersold a little bit. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. The only real negative he has going against him is that he's in Vegas, which sucks. But he is a talent. He's going to be really, really good. Think better than what Kyle Pitts was dreamed of being so far in his career. I see that immense upside on Bowers. Obviously, he's a rookie, and he's a steal in the 5th round.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's, rookie tight ends don't typically pan out their first year, but we're also seeing him be. Yeah, that like last year was like the first year that it really kind of flipped it. McBride was in his second year last year.
Was that his second year last year?
Yeah, second year. Yeah, Laporta obviously flipped that on his head, but for the most part we don't. But Bowers has a much better receiving profile, like prospect profile than Laporta. I think he's going to be used as a slot, basically as that second weapon behind Adams. So if anyone has a chance to replace Laporta as the best rookie tight end, I think it's Bowers. And at team 6 here, I'm looking at, we have Lamb, we have Daniels, London, Achane. Some of the upcoming teams here only have 1 QB. So I want to get ahead of the curve here a little bit. And I'm thinking I'll take JJ McCarthy with my next pick here.
JJ McCarthy.
He has the best situation by far out of most of the rookie QBs, maybe other than Caleb Williams. He has Jefferson. He has Hawkinson, who will be coming back from injury. He has Jordan Addison. He's got an offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell. I think he's got a great situation. I think he got a little pass and maybe got a little bit of a bad rep just because people said he was at Michigan. Life is easy for him. He's just handing the ball off. But I think he is a talented QB, although some of those gripes are true. I think he's in too good of a situation, and I don't think he's a bad player. So I think he could really kind of earn his spot here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think JJ McCarthy has a lot of upside. He's already aired it out in the preseason game. Justin Jefferson was going nuts. It's just a matter of it actually happening, right? He's one of the more iffy rookies I have from the QB side of things, but the potential's there. I just hope he gets it together and it pans out for him, because that's really what you want to see. For Team 7, At this stage in the game, they have their running back, they have a quarterback, they have two receivers. Odds are they'd be looking at tight end in this situation. So for them, I'd be taking Kyle Pitts. I like Kyle Pitts. As I just said, where he coming out, everyone thought he was going to be the next coming of like just straight monsterism in the NFL. But he's been cursed with the situation that he's really just been in. Arthur Smith was an awful, awful coach, and he did not set up Pitts or Bijan Robinson for that matter to be successful. I expect Kyle Pitts to get fed this year. He's got a better quarterback situation, best quarterback situation he's had since he's joined the league, and I expect him to go off. I think Kirk Cousins is just going to feed him the ball.
Yeah, no, I think last year was about as bad as it got for Kyle Pitts owners. Like we saw them force feed the ball to tight ends, but it all went to Jonnu Smith.
Yeah,
If there's a chance for him to break out, it's this year. So I think it's kind of do or die from at this point, though.
yeah. And I think, yeah, we got my team up next.
Yep.
So coming into my team here, if I'm seeing what I'm seeing on the board right now, I'm not worried about tight end yet. I know I'm thin at quarterback, but I'm not worried about quarterback just yet. And I have my wide receiver team set. So what I'd be eyeing here is another running back. So flip over to RB. So for me, you look at this list, you go, ew. It doesn't have a lot of upside. James Cook, I think is I'm sorry, he's garbage. I'm not sold on this guy. I know he had a monster second half last year. I know some people are calling for him to go off this year. I just don't. I don't think it's there. I don't think James Cook is him. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's successful. But I'm not a fan of him. I don't like Josh Jacobs. I like Jonathan Brooks, but I need a running back who can start. Right? I don't see Jonathan Brooks starting this season. I don't know if he'll really be up and running until 2025. Really. And I took him in my other dynasty with that expectation. So for me, I'm going to be taking old man Henry. At this stage, I'm confident taking someone like Derrick Henry because I know he's going to perform. I know he's switched teams, but I am not worried about Derrick Henry in this case. I think he's just going to be the power back that he's been, and he's going to be punching in some power touchdowns for them and taking that off of the Lamar Jackson's back.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's more of a compete now type of build with that
Yep.
roster, but you want to win your fantasy league. That's obviously more fun than just always rebuilding, and I could
I love
happily
rebuilding.
attest to that. So, um, yeah, but if you take Henry at this point, and I'm looking at my team, I think I could go a few directions here. I could be tempted into wide receiver. There's DK Metcalf, Tank Delft's on the board. There's some other guys I might like back on the turn there. Tight end. I think that's the direction I'll go here. I think the last elite tight end on the board that's available that's going to play right away is Mark Andrews. Uh, Obviously, I don't think Hawkinson's a bad pickup either, but he's injured. We're not sure when he's going to be around to start the season. And I don't want to have to pick up a tight end handcuff early on in the draft. I'd rather wait. So
Hmm.
Andrews is still elite. He's still 28. Um, and I'm pretty happy with my core of my two QBs, elite wide receiver, running back, and tight end now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You got the next one too.
Oh, I'm on the next one. Okay, gotcha. So if I'm looking at this team, we got two QBs. I'm not taking a tight end here at this point. I think my next wide receiver off the board would be DK Metcalf.
Hmm.
He's still the clear number one in Seattle right now. I think we're going to see JSN kind of come up this year and maybe become that 1B behind him. But at least for now, he's the best red zone threat that they have.
Hmm.
He's the best number one wide receiver. Um, to get a wide receiver one and at the end of the fifth, I think is pretty good value.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's a steal at this stage in the draft. And having DK and Jamar Chase is going to put you in a pretty good place. Speaking of wide receiver ones, if I'm team 11, that's exactly where I'm going to. And I'll be grabbing George Pickens. So, George Pickens, I know the jury's still out on whether or not he's actually really good or not. He should have better quarterback play this year. but it's all up in the air. Pittsburgh, I think, from a quarterback position, is a little bit of a mess. I think you got more stability with Russell Wilson. I think you have potentially more upside with Fields. It's just really unclear what it's going to be, but both of them are upgrades over Kenny Pickett. So that's what you got to go off. I think George Pickens is a solid grab in the 5th round, especially in the Dynasty League because he's young too.
Yeah, no, I like Pickens a lot. My biggest concern is, yeah, at least at the time we're filming this, is that Ayuk goes to Pittsburgh still,
Mm-hmm.
in which case I think he might drop a bit if we were picking that. But as of now, wide receiver one on the Steelers offense, I like Pickens here a lot.
Yeah.
And for the last pick of the 5th round here, we have Team 12. They have 2 QBs. They have a wide receiver and tight end there. I think you need to go running back at this point.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with Josh Jacobs. I like him a lot more than you do, as you know. I think he's the clear-cut workhorse back in Green Bay. Almost got me again. But he's going to be used a lot in the receiving game. We saw Aaron Jones have a monster end to the season. I think Jacobs is more talented than Aaron Jones, frankly. And at this point in his career, I think he's going to be more reliable as well. So I'm pretty happy with him here. I think he can have a monster year or two with the Packers.
No, I can't argue against that in that scenario. Getting him that late is obviously going to be really, really good value, which leads into the next pick here. So Team 12 is already set up when it comes to a wide receiver, tight end, and a running back, and they got the quarterbacks established. So what you're going to do at this stage is you're going to go, what position out of wide receiver, not tight end, and running back is going to give me the best value? All right. So looking at the upside and the teams that are, the players that are still available here, you're going to end up taking James Cook. I know I told you guys I don't love James Cook because I don't, but getting him in the 6th round and looking at what is remaining on the board, he's the best pick that's going to play right now, especially in PPR formats because he catches balls. And we all know that the wide receiver room in Buffalo is a little when it comes down to it. You got it's a little iffy. So we'll see how that ends up panning out.
Yeah, no, if you let me take both picks on the 12 there, I was going to go Jacobs and Cook. I think it's kind of like a coin flip between the two of them. I'd lean towards Jacobs, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think you fill out your starting RB room pretty quickly there after not touching RBs until the 5th round. That's not a bad deal.
Yep. And the
And
wide receiver is just deeper, and that's what you got to remember.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
the running back room is going to start to fall off pretty heavily. It already is.
Yeah, and I think if I'm Team 11, I was hoping for one of these guys to fall to me there. We have Bijan, but we are a little bit weaker at running back beyond that, especially if you're looking at who's going to be available on the turn there coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I'm tempted by Jonathan Brooks. I don't expect him to contribute immediately this year. He's hurt. He's not going to. They might kind of ease him back into the offense, especially if Carolina's not doing great,
Yeah.
which they're not projected to do. But this is Dynasty. You have Bijan, you have Jonathan Brooks. You got the 2 Texas RBs there. You don't have a very old core. I'm okay with that if I'm this team and hoping that by the end of the season or by next year, you're in a better position to compete there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with what you're saying there. If I'm Team 10, I'm going with a similar method. I'm going to be looking at running backs, but I'm not going to be taking the 3 that you see there first. I'm taking Ramondre Stevenson. I know the ADP for him is 85, guys. This is the 6th round. But you have to realize, and even so, we're ahead of ADP no matter what because it's a 12-team league. But when it comes down to it, I think he's in a really, really, really good situation. I'm suspecting we'll see not Ramondre of 2023. We'll see Ramondre of 2022 this year. And I expect the offense to really go through him pretty heavily when it comes down to it. So I think getting him in the 6th round is a steal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's the last running back I'm excited about in terms of potential production this year.
Mm-hmm.
The rest I have a lot of question marks on. And this is this is where I think is the worst part of the draft. There's a lot of players I'm not very excited about that feel weird passing up on. So for this pick here, my team, I have Burrow. I only have the one wide receiver in Marvin Harrison, who's obviously unproven rookie at this point. I'm going to take T. Higgins at this point in the draft. Like I said, not super excited about some of the people in this range, but Higgins does put up wide receiver two numbers in the event of any Jamar Chase injury. He immediately kind of moves up into that wide receiver one role. We don't expect Higgins to be on the Bengals next year, where he probably will step into a higher volume, like more of that typical number one role. So even if this year is not his absolute ceiling, I'm taking him here knowing he'll produce, and next year he might even be in for a bigger role.
Yeah, that's fair at this stage. It's a scenario where you're just trying to get the most value out of a player, and this is Dynasty. T. Higgins, I like T. Higgins too. He's a talented dude. I mean, you traded for him. We won't get into that. Anyway, T. Higgins obviously had a massive fall off last year, but the big reason that happened was because Burrow was hurt. It obviously impacted him and Chase when it comes down to it. I just don't know what to expect from him this year. I think he's a wide receiver one, just like Devontae Smith would be on a lot of teams. If he can get to a team where he can actually flourish in that role, I think he'll be extremely successful, and that's kind of what you're banking on. All right, for me, on my team, looking here, I still only have one quarterback, and other than that, I am pretty much set at wide receiver and running back, so I don't need to worry too much from this perspective. So I'm going to be looking for as much value as I could possibly get. You might call me insane. I'm not taking a quarterback yet. We're passing. We're waiting. Okay? Because I'm looking at the QB list. And if you look at the teams that are coming up, how many people need a second quarterback?
1, 2, 3, 4, five,
right?
6.
No, it's five.
Five,
Not including
yeah.
me. Right? My math is right, I think.
Yeah, five, not including you. Yep.
Yeah, who I want and who I'm targeting late in this draft is someone that I suspect will still be there. So I'm going to go for a value grab. I'm going to reach for a wide receiver here. Go to wide receiver. And at this stage, I'm also looking for straight value of what I can get. And I'm going to be taking Deebo Samuel. Deebo in this situation is a nice flex play for me with potential wide receiver one upside if Ayuk is gone. So I'm banking on two potential scenarios, but either way, Deebo is going to be a good flex play no matter how you spin it in this league. He gets rushing yards too as a wide receiver, and I suspect that will continue to happen this year. So I think he's a really, really good grab at this stage in the draft for a solid flex position.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean at passing at QB, but I think if we're drafting like how we expect some leagues to draft here in this next spot, my only QB is Kyler Murray.
He'll probably take QB.
I'm probably taking QB here.
Mm-hmm.
If this were my team, I would not be absolutely thrilled with this pick, but I'm taking Drake May. I think realistically, this is where you'll see him go to a team that only has one QB at this stage. He's obviously not even going to start right away for New England. I think Jacoby Brissett's going to start the year for them.
Looks that way.
He has a lot of potential. Like before the draft and going into the whole preseason process here, he was the number 2 QB for a while off the boards, and people were thinking that he'd be drafted before Drake or before Jaden Daniels in a lot of formats. He's kind of fallen off quite a bit. I'm not saying he's going to be Stroud, but that is what happened to Stroud last year as well, where he kind of fell behind. Like Anthony Richardson got hyped up a lot, and Stroud fell deeper, and obviously by far the best QB from last year's bunch.
Yeah.
I'm not, again, saying that that's going to happen here, but at this stage in the game, he's a rookie. He's a QB. He has the arm talent. He could run the ball too. Take a chance here, especially if you only have one QB, and kind of pray for the best.
Pray for the best.
I'm not. That's probably bad general fantasy advice.
Call of Duty.
But I think realistically, that's what's going to happen in most drafts.
Yeah, I mean, he'll end up being the starter. It's just a matter of when. I mean, at this stage, and I think he's in a good situation, the Patriots too, and a team that is rebuilding, and they're going to give him time. All right, for Team 6, this is going to be a situation where we're going for a tight end. We're taking Mr. Kittle. Sam said elite tight ends fall off. I disagree. Kittle is an elite tight end. He's arguably top 5 tight end in the league. And I think he's going to continue to perform that way this year. And even more so if Ayuk is gone. You're getting some what ifs here, but getting Kittle at this stage is a pretty solid grab. And it'll be a nice building block for Team 6.
Yeah. And when I say elite tight ends, I'm factoring in age to a certain extent here as well. So Kittle's 30. Tight ends do last a bit longer than other positions, though. So I think that's a fair point. So I might have to readjust my tight end strategy. But I'm looking at Team 5 here, another one where I only have one QB, 2 wide receivers, tight end, running back. If I'm not touching any of these running backs here, I'm just going to do a quick scan. You got Addison, Dell, Dunze. I think at this point, I'm going to take Tank Dell. I think we let him fall a little bit too far here for the kind of season he had as a rookie.
Sure.
I know this year he'll probably be hurt by the arrival of Diggs, but Diggs is older. Diggs doesn't tend to last very long in teams where he's not getting the ball all the time either. So I don't think it's crazy to think that Diggs could be gone as soon as next year. We obviously saw Dell and Stroud had a great connection together last year, and that continued right into preseason. I'm taking this stack here. I think he's got the talent to be drafted way before the 6. It's just the situation. So I'm going to take Dell here, and I don't think it's that hard of a decision.
I think he's a unique pick. I like Tank Dell's upside. As I mentioned earlier when I took Collins, his points were very TD dependent last year. He went on a hell of a tear before he got hurt. But if you look at his fantasy production, a lot of it came from touchdowns. And I don't know if that's going to be a similar scenario for him this year, that he's going to be able to pull that off again. Not saying he won't have a good season, but he'll be a decent flex play when it comes down to it. So again, at this stage, and he's young, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. For me coming in here on Team 4, if I'm looking at currently what is available for Team 4, he's established at 2 outstanding young wide receivers. He's got a young running back. He's got a young tight end. He's sitting really, really strong when it comes down to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the best value grab that we can. Is it a quarterback? Is it a running back? Or is it a wide receiver? So for me at this stage, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at running back. And I'm actually going to be grabbing a running back that I consider a little bit of a reach at this stage, but I don't think he's going to be sticking around. Do you know who I'm going to take?
Is it Montgomery?
No. It's a good guess.
No idea.
Javonte Williams. I like Javonte Williams. I think he's being slept on a little bit this year. I think there is upside, and people keep saying like that running back room is crowded. It's not as crowded as you make it out to be. Yes, there's a lot of running backs, but he is clear-cut number 1. And as long as he's healthy, I think he's going to give you immense upside. And that's the big piece, right? It's health again, because obviously he came off of that big injury where he was not even 100% last year when he was playing. So he's 100% now. I think he's going to go off in 2024, and you're not going to regret taking him if you can get him in the 6th or 7th round.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously he was one of the running back 2 or 3 in Dynasty 2 years ago before he got injured. He could get back there. I think McLaughlin's going to have that receiving role. You know, Estime might not really have any sort of role as like in the starting offense there, but we'll see. So if he holds on to that. Yeah, no, Javonte Williams could be a good pick. I didn't love what I saw of him last year, but maybe he improved. Apparently he's a bit lighter than he was. So
I told you, he wasn't 100% last year.
Yeah, no, I know. It's again, I watched a few too many Broncos games last year, and I was not thrilled with what I saw.
Get for being in Colorado.
Yeah, and this next pick here is interesting because they already have Mahomes, they had DJ Moore, they have Travis Kelce. If I wasn't considering the team, I would probably be between Odunze and Worthy at this point. But just because I already have Kelce and Mahomes, I already have DJ Moore. I think the guy I'm going with here is Jordan Addison.
Really? Okay.
He's only going to be suspended for 3 games. And again, he's one of those guys where he had a really good rookie season. And he is that wide receiver 2 on the Vikings there. Wide receiver 2s are fantasy relevant. We know that. I think he's a good pick here. I think he can continue to put up points, especially if McCarthy is, as good as I think he is, which I think he's going to surprise some people.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I probably would want Worthy. But I understand taking Essen. He had a good first season. There's definitely upside there. It's just a suspension. 3 games. He's still going to need another receiver because he's not going to have one right now. So I'd probably be reaching more on value of something that could play now. But for me in Team 2, he's got his quarterback set up. His wide receiver room is set up. His running back room is only half established, and he's got no tight end. So for me, I'm going to be grabbing Hawkinson, which at this stage I think is a steal. No, he's not going to play the start of the season. So you're going to have to get another tight end. But he's a steal in a sense of the value you're going to get from him when he's starting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if Hawkinson wasn't hurt, he'd be going
He would have went
probably a round or 2 earlier, possibly. Um, and with that last pick here, then again, situation where they have 1 QB, they have 2 really good wide receivers. I'm probably just looking at best value available at this point. I'm probably tempted to go. I don't know. I think you can go 2 routes here. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Josh Allen, you have Dalton Kincaid. If you wanted to go the win now route, I might be a little tempted in by Devontae Adams at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking more at the long term here and want to make sure I'm not going to be screwed when 2 of my wide receivers retire in 2 years, I'm probably just going to take Worthy here as the best value player at this point of the draft.
Really?
But I think you could.
Dunze the value play there?
I don't know. I think you could go Dunze. Honestly, you could kind of go back and forth in the next 2 picks here.
Yeah.
I just his situation just picks me off with Dunze because Keenan Allen has 2 more years there.
Yeah.
You have 2 years as a wide receiver 3, which I just don't think translates to fantasy points that well. Whereas Worthy could very well step in. Brown is hurt at the beginning of the season. We'll see. Maybe Rice gets suspended, maybe he doesn't, but he could be that number 1 option.
Yeah, no, I get it. I don't dislike Worthy. I was just curious as to why you didn't go Dunze in that scenario. Worthy, I think, is a good grab. I told you should have taken him back with Patrick Mahomes. So I can't argue against it. I think he's got immense upside. He's definitely a talented receiver. I got him in our other Dynasty League. I think he's going to pop off this year when it comes down to it. Plus, he's got the Patrick Mahomes effect.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, when we're looking at the rounds 4 through 6 here, the guy who slid the furthest was Dunze. I think he goes somewhere next in the next few picks here. Most likely, though, he gets drafted by someone in your league in those.
Yeah.
In rounds 4 through 6. We personally, I think, are just
drafted already.
passing. Yeah.
So, all right, that obviously wraps this up. That's rounds 4 through 6. We thought it would be a little shorter. We were wrong. This is pretty much just as long as the last one, and that's all right. We obviously appreciate you guys taking the time listening to this. If I've cut this or edited this in any way, this won't really matter, but please take the time and subscribe and like the video. I know it's definitely cliche. I'll probably never stop saying that because you hear that in every stinking YouTube video when it comes down to it, but it helps us. It's actually really exciting to watch the analytics and watch the stats ebb and flow as we're going through these and producing these videos, and we're having a lot of fun doing it, and we definitely want to keep doing it. Also, please leave a comment. We love the feedback, and we love getting back to anybody who's commented so far. It's actually one of the more enjoyable aspects of doing this, and we're looking forward to continuing making these. We will get rounds 7 through 9 done. I don't think we're going to take this for the full 25 rounds. We'd be here like all week, but I see us at least going to round 15 because I think that's really the main feature. We got some sleepers in there, and there's a lot of good grabs that you could have picked up. All right. Anything you want to add, Sam?
No, I'm really liking this video series. I think we'll get the next couple rounds out in the next couple of days as well. So looking forward to soon who we pick up and learning your draft strategy before we go live next week.
All right. Sounds good, Sam. Thanks. and we'll be back. Take care, guys.